feeling like I'm Akademiks. Can't ride no
you. Nevertheless, I thought the Shakira and Burna Boy performance was amazing. Shout out to Burna Boy. Shout out to Shakira. Who else? I think BTS. I didn't even know these niggas speak English unless like they translated it in like real time. Like these niggas and they were singing a song. I'm like, wait, that's them? I never knew I've heard BTS music before, but they were there. I see Elmo and them drumming it up. Sesame Street was in the building. I mean, there was a lot going on. The Stars of Stars was in the building. Everything was star-studded. Everybody who was anybody was there. I got to be honest. Now, I wasn't there. I wasn't, because, the ticket I would have got was going to be like some trash shit. The flex was being in the suite. There was Jay-Z there. You had, was Jay there? I think he was, right? Rihanna, A$AP Rocky was there. Pharrell is there. Future is there. Drake is there. Pretty much everybody other than like, yay. Like everybody was really in the building. I just found out 21 Savage is there. Loki, I got to cuss him out. I haven't talked to 21 Savage in like a couple days. I got to let him know, despite my Atlanta rhetoric, I love him. 21's the only person I really love from Atlanta. It's only 21. That's my guy. That's the Crody. Anyway, we'll talk about all of that. We do want to say, and I'm getting the official confirmation, I want to say rest in peace to Alley Boy. We'll kind of get into that as well. Andrew Tate got arrested. That was kind of interesting, right? And there's a lot to talk about. I don't want to go on a long diatribe, but I got some interesting calls. And I guess we should start like this. I'll start with a semi-monologue. I got some interesting calls in the last week, and I know I haven't streamed that much, but one of the calls I got, I won't tell you from who. Maybe you were able to deduce who, but I won't confirm or deny. But it's really one of the most powerful people in the music business. And this person called me, and this person said, "Hey, Ak, I just I just got put up on speed on some of the stuff you've been going through, some of the stuff you've spoken on, and I seen a recent sit down, and I said I got to reach out to my guy Ak because." I seen they were trying to label you as manic. Now, this is one of the most powerful guys in music, flat out. I just won't say his name. Maybe you'll figure out who. He says, Ak, I had to reach out to you to tell you you're not crazy. Dude, I'm going through the same thing. Now, I'm beating around the bush here because I don't want to just throw out names. But I want to just parallel because the things that he even divulged to me that was going on to him. And I said, why don't you say this? And he said, well, I deal with it differently. I'm dealing with it legally. I don't need to speak on it publicly, but I'm dealing with it legally. And he told me some stuff. I'm like, what? That's happening? Whatever. And he said, Ak, what you need to realize that we're in uncharted territory. The games that's being played and how people are getting at people it's unprecedented. But there's really only one entity that's playing on that level. And he said, I called you just to let you know, if you ever need legal help, if you ever need whatever, I'm here to back you up. Because trust me. And by the way, without, I don't want to dox him. Not necessarily dox him, but I don't want to. But he said, didn't you see some stuff pop up about me? And it looks so beautiful and so good. Where did that come from? This is what this person said too. He said, Ak, when you exposed that they came at you and they're using an AI article, they made a whole AI website about me. They didn't even use my picture. It was an AI generated thing. Anyway, the story that connects to this is the important one. The story is that we got to go back to a year, 10 years before now. So I think that would be the Jay-Z's 20th. It's not necessarily a Jay-Z thing. For some of you, I'm like, oh my God, he's talking about Jay-Z. No. I do want to put this in perspective. I want to give you the story. 2016 and 2015, actually, 2015 going to 2016 was a very pivotal year. That's the year that streaming really got established. Streaming is really only about 10 years old, where it's now ubiquitous. And in establishing streaming, you essentially saw a lot of moving parts. Again, the person who I'm talking about is not some random guy who's pushing paper at a place. This is a guy who, if we're going to speak about the history of streaming, his name could not be left out either. I'm just not going to say his name. You'll figure it out. Well, he said, check this out. I'll give you this interesting tidbit. Well, 10 years ago, there's about 13 or 14 artists that line up on stage alongside Jay-Z. And they're there for the title announcement. And it was everybody. The who's who of artists. The who's who of artists. You see J. Cole. Is this, what's his name? I forgot his name. You see Deadmau5. You see Kanye. Here's Jay. Rihanna's somewhere going to be in the mix. You're going to see Nicki Minaj. Everybody is there. Oh, I'll say the names. Usher, Rihanna, Nicki Minaj, Madonna, Deadmau5, Kanye, Jay, Jason Aldean, Jack White, Daft Punk, Beyonce. He said, well, let me give you this little knowledge right here. So, when this happens, there's supposed to be one more artist on that stage. It's the artist that we're all thinking about. It's the artist that is the highest streamed, the most streamed artist of all time on Apple Music. It's the artist that is the most significant artist that helped build this streaming shit. Supposedly a few days, or I don't know necessarily the full timeline, but it was close from what I hear. And by the way, I want to correct myself. This was in 2015. Before this happened, one artist says, you know what? I'm not going to get on that stage, and I'm not going to be a part of this. I'm going to go another way. There's some disruptors that's moving some shit over there. Happens to be at Apple Music. And I'm going to get with them. And I get it. Y'all are talking some equity stuff over there, but they're going to give me $20 million. I put my album on there for 7 days. This is how we have Drake not going to Tidal. This is how we have Drake doing a deal with Apple. And this is how we have Drake, even during the beef with Meek Mill that happened later this year, he mentions that he feels the higher-ups is after him because he didn't get down. And he literally says, I still feel I'm entitled. And he did a double or triple entendre because he was trying to say entitled. No good deed goes unpunished, but also no slight is taken and forgiven that quickly. This is not necessarily a Drake convo, but it's about the person who called me. What Drake did for streaming and subsequently Apple Music and them pushing forward streaming, don't let no one gaslight you, me, or anyone else. We're not manic. Don't let them gaslight you and say, oh no, that was forgiven. If Drake had went to Tidal would probably be something that would be sold for billions of dollars at some point. Why? Because what he did for Apple and streaming in general, it mattered that much. It's the biggest finesse Apple really got. They paid him $20 million, reportedly. He dropped his album a week early. Streaming these days, Spotify is worth more than all three labels combined. So the idea of these streaming or tech companies, and remember, Apple Music is still part of Apple. let me speed up the story a little bit. In speeding up the story, that slight was never forgotten. Remember, Drake got snatched up, okay, from underneath the person who felt like he was the Don Dada, biggest mogul, Jay. Drake didn't get down. Now, if you think that Drake is the only one who feels the brunt of that type of, reaction afterwards, what about the guy who wrote the check, who did the cosign, and made the play to get Drake? You see what I'm getting at? Anyway, that happened then. You would think that I'm talking about something that just happened 10 years ago. But if I tell you that in the last couple of years, on a music side of things, when I mentioned Bobby Shmurda, when I mentioned Lil Uzi Vert, when I mentioned Meg Thee Stallion, what Rock Nation is trying to be is literally the new realm of distribution. It's this artist type of like, they want to kind of like upend major labels, but mostly on some, okay, you're getting over here with J and M. Don't believe me? Rock Nation announces distribution. Remember, this came out. Also, this didn't go along well. Right? Remember, they have a Rock Nation distribution dashboard, right? When this came out, artists like Russ and other people, they were like, yo, this is a bad deal. United Masters, or if you go with like TuneCore, or you go with what's the other distribution thing? They were like, you get better terms. Essentially, again, I'm trying to make a long story short. Rock Nation was trying to get into distribution. It got slammed by critics. It got slammed by even artists that were knowledgeable. You guys could do the math here. There is a new type of label that is doing exactly what Rock Nation wanted to do. They have focused on distribution in a different way outside of the majors. Let's just say maybe it's called Gamma. I don't know. Put it like this. The loss that Rock Nation ultimately took 10 years ago, they didn't forget. And they're realizing again, 10 years later, when the same person who's in the midst of this is now also creating a competitor that is doing a lot better than what they're doing currently. I don't need to spell it out for y'all, but I pray for them. They pray for me. I pray for Drake. They pray for Nicki. Like we all, it's an interesting thing. But I got called and comforted by, again, this is one I just have to say his name. You know who it is. He's one of the most powerful people in the game. He rewrote the history of everything. He's the reason why Chief Keef was on your favorite label. They said, listen, you're not alone. We get it too. Why? It started back then. They're the reason Drake wasn't on that stage. Do with that as you may. And that might take you nowhere. That might be like, oh, you know what people like, so what, man? Like, yo, you got something. Cool. Let's leave that there, but let's keep moving on. All right.